It's probably fixing the audio. I
Mm,
bet you a nickel. Okay, well, I'll just deal with it. I'll figure it out.
okay.
Oh, that's fine. If you leave it in, that's not the end of the world. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Influential Oregonian, where we have discussions on Oregon history and academics and interview important people who have made history within or in the name of the Beaver State. I'm your host, Marcus Axford, from the show Welcome to Oregon, joined by my boon companions, archaeologist and Marquist of Salem, David Winkler, and Finn J.D. John of Offbeat Oregon and Baron of Corvallis. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you, Marcus.
Great to be here again.
I
I
really,
feel like I had to say something different today. I say the same thing every time.
well, and I do really think it's kind of a little bit charming that instead of like immediately going into this hard intro, we're just
Mm.
we're just babbling and then we're like, oh right, we have to start a show.
Oh,
All
we
right,
have a
here we
show
go.
to do.
Yeah. I always get compliments on our works about like not just this one, but a lot of them on how personal everything is.
Hmm.
So, this week, our guest unfortunately called in sick, much to David's chagrin.
Hmm.
But I had a really fun idea for us to do, if they had still wanted to do a show this week. So, we will be talking about if we had the money, how would we build our own town? And talk about towns and communities formed on the new frontier, and maybe even discuss if we could live anywhere in the state, where would that be? I definitely know my answer. So before we get into that, we do have a few updates. I'm going to be recording the episode of Welcome to Oregon that Bruce Haney wrote. I've been meaning to do that for a while. I keep forgetting. Uh, there's just so much going on all the time. And then I remembered, yes, actually, it's more of a pleasant discovery than anything because it's like the stress of, oh God, episode this week. And I think, oh, I have a freebie. I even had to have Bruce remind me, hey, it's Saturday. Okay, cool.
I was wondering what that was about in our Discord chat. It's like, is he just really enthusiastic about Influential Oregonian? Like, that's cool, but like,
No, I told him to remind me, like let try to remind me so I don't forget again. So Bruce is currently out camping, so lucky for him.
lucky for Bruce.
I know I'm going in. Thank God it's August. Oh my God, it's finally. Can we talk about real quick how it's finally August?
Woohoo!
July goes on for so long. And I have a theory behind that. I feel like if you think of other months with holidays, like, Halloween and Christmas and Thanksgiving, all the holidays are towards the back end of the month. So
Hmm.
the month is, because you're waiting for that holiday, or even if you're not, it's still like everyone else is. So you're kind of sucked into that vibe. So the month immediately, starts drawing to an end. But July, whether you celebrate the 4th of July or not, you're still in that vibe. So, right at the beginning of the month, there's a holiday, and then there's the rest of the month. And it also doesn't help that it's summer, so all the days are really long. So, at
Yeah.
the end of the month, we're
I
all
will
like,
not hear this slander of my birth month, Marcus. If you need a holiday at the end of the month, I got one on the 24th for you.
You've got your holiday
oh,
right
wait,
here.
wait, what holiday is that? I'm.
That would be the birth of the mark. Oh, you're messing with me.
Oh, right. Is that what that was for? I thought you were
Ah,
just
yeah,
celebrating me. Oh, I'm
yeah, yeah,
sorry. That's
yeah,
very egotistical of me. Uh,
yeah. It's pizza in exchange for presents. We do it every year.
some people think I'm just this horrifyingly egotistical person, so every once in a while I like to lean into that. Like, I just assume every celebration's about me, Easter, the 4th of July, Christmas. I just assume everybody is all here for me. So yeah, anyway, Bruce, you're gonna hear this after the fact, but I hope you had a great camping trip and you didn't get bit or sunburned. So yeah,
Mm.
that'll be the episode that he did on boring. He is currently going to be working on a horror episode, which I'm actually might just save for 5 weeks of fright because I really would love to do actually get 5 weeks of fright taking care of this year and not fumble like I did last year. I mean, I get it wasn't really my fault. I was sick, all that other stuff. but I could have been better prepared, so that's on me. But I could always have Bruce do even a couple, two, 3 episodes. He loves horror, so like,
Hmm.
why not put him to work?
Hmm.
So, I'm currently working on. I've got our new network business cards taken care of, so you might be seeing those soon if you're out in the wild. I got my staff shirt taken care of, so I'm really excited about that. It's even got my name on it. Um,
Nice.
I thought it'd be a little dorky to have my name on it, but then I realized, well, it's my personal work shirt. If we're doing events and stuff, it's handy for people to see my name and know, oh, we can talk to him.
Yeah,
So, yeah, if you guys want shirts, just let me know and we can get that squared away. Uh,
that
I'm
would be
going
fun.
I'm going through Vistaprint as I've talked about in our Discord. So, Jess turned me on to one of her many brilliant ideas. Um, that we talked about. So, brochures too, she said, because she used to work in outreach. So she said, having these brochures to kind of not hand out like candy to people like you do at the cards, but like, some of our business associates, like, any museums that we visit, that they can like keep that at the desk for people to just, look at and,
Mm.
keep their sort of stuff. So, I'm currently working on that now and get it ordered for our big trip at the back end of August. So, excuse me. And the final thing, Finn suggested I reach out to Sig, Unander is his last name, correct?
I'm not sure how to pronounce it actually. I always just assumed it was Sig Unander, but
He
Yunander.
he's told me, and I it's morning, so I'll chalk it up to that. But I have plumb forgot. But anyway, I reached out to him, and he sent me his phone number, had me call him, and wow, this man can talk. I was on the phone from 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock at night with Sig, just talking about all kinds of things, and my God, it was a treasure to. It was a wonderful privilege, honor, whatever you want to call it, to ramble on about history and stuff. And he asked all kinds of questions about the network, about
uh,
my shows and everything we're doing. So I'm not going to make 100% official statement, but he sounds very much like he wants to join the network. Um,
For those of us not in the know.
oh, right. I should probably actually Finn would have a better description of Sig's work than I.
Sig is the go-to guy. If you want to know anything about Claire Phillips, who was kind of like the Manila Mata Hari, she was a spy who probably caused the destruction of at least several Japanese U-boats,
Wow.
um, operating as undercover as a posing as an Italian citizen in Manila with a social club that Japanese officers would come to and patronize, and then her people would milk them for information and then slip them to the rebels. And
Uh,
so it's a fascinating story. And Sig has been working for a while now, I think, on a biography of Claire Phillips. And I've kind of been on pins and needles for a couple of years now, waiting for the dang thing to come out. I finally gave up and did an Offbeat Oregon column on Claire Phillips because I was like, well, I'll update it after he gets the biography out.
hmm. Now, is
But
this a George R. Martin situation?
no, I doubt it. I mean,
Okay.
he's an actively, doing talks about
He's very
Claire
busy.
Phillips, and he's
Hmm.
very outgoing in terms of sharing the information. I think probably it's just one of those things where writing a book is a big giant pain in the butt and requires a large
Hmm.
block of time, as present company can testify. and, and
Yeah.
it just hasn't gelled yet.
Yeah,
Hmm.
uh I've I'm still doing the book. Actually, at this point, I'm gonna have enough by the time this year is done. I will probably be able to have 3 books out because I've decided, in learning through various things I've done so far, I've learned with my book, okay, anything more than 20 stories is going to be too much because I'm looking at the word count and it's on the lower end of historical books, but that's okay. Um, if I tried to go the full year, the first year of podcasting, it would just be way too much.
Mm,
Um, so I'm gonna do every 20. And
mm,
also I'm cutting out the character intro and outro because honestly, it really just doesn't make sense for a book.
mm,
So I cut all that out and I looked at it, I'm like, I like this. This looks a lot better, flows better. Plus, you don't want a carbon copy in a book. You want all of your work to have even just, the slightest little differences.
yeah.
Yeah. What I found worked best was to take columns that I had done before and then just basically put them all together and then treat that like a rough draft and go through it and rewrite it.
Mm,
Kind of update some things so that you're getting something different with the book, but it's at the same time, it's not like a complete whole new project.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, running a podcast is a great kind of step towards doing that.
Mm,
Yeah, because you're just doing all of this stuff. Uh,
And you got graphic design resources in your immediate family that's half the battle with a book is if you're going to publish it yourself. I mean, you can reach out. You might consider actually reaching out to the Oregon State University Press
mm,
and just
oh,
see. I
right.
mean,
Yeah,
the worst thing they could do is tell you no.
yeah,
Um,
that's right. I forgot. Oh, well, so I forgot that they had reached out to me and
oh,
and we had a meeting and stuff, but that was a couple months ago. And then I had forgotten that I got an email back, and so while I'm finally going through my emails again, I saw that they had emailed me on some of the people that had lined up, and I felt so terrible. Like I try not to like bear the weight of that mistake, because I mean, all of us as creatives understand that. Uh, Especially someone like me who's getting all the messages, all the emails, all the everything. Once in a while, you're just gonna miss something, and you're
mhm.
gonna miss it for a while, and it
well, I'm
sucks.
just bad at getting back to people on email. I mean, I know it's not. I'm not proud of that, but I don't know. I guess I should work on it.
No, trust me, like I said, I get terrible about it. I just, well, that, full-time job, your mind just gets pulled away, and then by the time you remember, it's a month or two later. So I gotta
Mm,
re-email
Yeah.
them and let them know, hey, I'm still interested in these people to um interview that you've lined up for us. So yeah, but I'll also reach out to them again about the book idea too. Um, so yeah, oh shoot, there was something about the book too that Sig had mentioned. But I speaking of going back to Sig, he is also the, I believe, great grandson of Simon Benson of the Benson
Oh,
Bubblers.
really?
Yes, he
Wow.
is. Yep.
That's Portland royalty.
a
Yep. And
family
his
of butlers.
bubbler.
Bubblers? Yeah. Oh,
So
the bubblers.
Butlers,
those drinking
like
fountains.
water fountains.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Well,
water
Simon
fountains in
Benson,
Portland.
he didn't like his mill workers coming back drunk from lunch
Uh,
because the only place you could get anything you could get to drink was beer. So they would go
mhm,
to, um, Erickson's or something like that and eat the free lunch and drink a beer or two and then come back
mhm.
and cut fingers off in the bandsaw. And he was like, well, this is costing me money.
Classic. Sounds about right.
I'm not sure that was exactly the line of thinking, but in any case, he wanted his employees to have some options for lunchtime other than, a nice big giant soporific schooner of beer.
Mm,
Did I get that right? Or is that soporific? I think
I
it's
don't know.
soporific. Soporific,
I
soporific.
know digging holes. I don't know
That's
words. I
I was
don't
gonna
know
say
bubblers. I
I was
only
gonna
know
say
dig.
that's a new word even for me. I like it.
Soporific.
I'm pretty
Soporific.
sure it's soporific. It's like terrific, only with sleep instead of terror.
Mm.
He's also his dad was also the Oregon treasurer in the 50s.
Hmm.
Oh,
So
Oh,
I
that would have
had
been what, the McKay administration?
I
maybe
do.
not Packwood, Hatfield.
Hatfield.
Oh yes, it was Hatfield because his dad was friends with Hatfield if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So yeah,
For those
and Nixon,
outside
I
of the
believe.
state, Hatfield was a beloved governor and public figure.
Oh yeah, his name
Yeah,
is
and also
everywhere.
Senator.
Hmm.
Yeah, Hatfield was a good dude.
Yeah. Um, So yeah, I even had somebody mistake in a comment section yesterday, I think. They're like, "Wait a minute, the state treasury's got to be 90 by now." I'm like, "No, no, no, same." Okay, even Sig's like, "My name our names should have been because like online should have been junior and senior, but they're not." So
Mm.
he's been busy working on that as well. Um but one last thing before we move on to you guys was the fact that he mentioned because another thing he is, speaking of, why the book might be taking a while, is he is a prolific speaker and presentator.
Mm.
And he's sort of, that's going to be sort of his part to play is he's dragging us into into the spotlight at McMenamins.
Mm.
He told me to reach out to McMenamins for presentation. And so I did. And the history manager for McMenamins, John Smart, I'm going to be having a meeting with him, and and the and some other people that he's going to have as part of the meeting as well. So yeah, that is going to be quite the relationship if we can get that to work because they need presentators. We've got we're that's all of us. That's like we're the collection. So I can
Mm.
have McMenamins email me, hey, we need somebody to present on this date. Can you find us anybody? Sure. Goes to goes to the
Yeah.
collaborative. Anybody want to go?
I
So
like that idea because a public presentation takes a big bite out of a schedule, and if you're planning for it and if you're ready for it, it can be very rewarding and cool and fun. But it can be a burden too. And if we've got like a stable of people who can come through, that takes some of the weight off of individuals.
Mm.
yeah, and that's the thing that Sig was talking about. He's like, I want community. And as he's talking about this, I was talking about OVN and everything.
Oops.
So I'm like, oh, you want community? Perfect. Come here. So we're going to try to get him on the show soon. He said he's a little bit behind on tech. So he's like, I should probably rectify that, shouldn't I? I'm like, well, I wasn't going to say it, but yeah,
Mm.
probably. So anyway, enough about that. David, anything interesting to talk about this week?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. Like,
So
so I've
long,
been,
and you've got a lot.
yeah, so I've been monitoring for last few weeks. If you don't know what monitoring is, in private archaeology, public as well, um, we have federal guidelines under the National Historic Preservation Act, and specifically Section 106 of that, which basically state if there is federal land or federal money involved with a project, it involves an archaeological survey. And if things are found or are suspected to be found, there needs to be some kind of mitigation. Now, mitigation typically involves just having an archaeologist on site during a construction project, to kind of, well, monitor, anything that might come up or get exposed during construction, and kind of advise on, okay, how to avoid it or to be there to collect it and get it out of the way. Oregon has a state version of those laws. So any not private, private property is safe, but any public government owned land or government money mandates that same process. So that's a bit of context. So I've been monitoring the past couple of weeks. And a phrase that construction workers kept saying to me really stuck out because it's been a couple of different crews now that have said this exact phrase. They come up to me and go, haha, waiting for a dead guy to pop out. excuse me. um like it strikes me as such a strange thing to say to somebody, but then like they would look at me kind of expectantly, and then like when I didn't know how to respond to that, they just kind of walk away. I realized what was going on here was a bit of whistling in the dark. I think that they were kind of asking me, okay, what happens if we find human remains? Um,
Oh.
without asking me what happens. So, um, in case people are curious, and if anybody who's in construction or development might be listening and have that concern, that is a valid concern. It does happen. Um, typically, where archaeologists are concerned, we have done that research ahead of time. And if a CRM company is reputable, then they have at least a working relationship with the tribes. And then the tribes will often tell you, don't dig in that spot, you know. And so like the odds are never zero, but they're pretty low that you're going to find human remains.
Well,
But
that and you
what
guys
does
also have like ground penetrating radar too.
So there
uh,
were these guys worried about finding like Kennewick Man, or were they worried about finding, the occupant of a shallow grave that has
the
been murdered in the last 6 months?
the phrase that they used struck me as a bit racist. The phrase they used was dead Indian, and that's
Oh.
the phrase that keeps getting repeated. And so I'm under the assumption that this is something that people talk about and are concerned about. And it's that kind of flippant way of saying that is kind of what caught me off guard and took me a while to realize that they were asking me what happens if you find the remains of a native person or a native burying area. Um, so if we back up a little bit, if skeletal remains are found, doesn't have to be a full human skeleton. It can just be any medium-sized bone. Because if you're dealing with a fragment, human beings are roughly a medium-sized critter in the highly scientific archaeological sense.
Yeah.
Um,
And in D&D as well.
yes, roughly medium-sized. So what happens is I call my supervisors who get in touch with the state physical anthropologist and the tribes and the state. And these three entities work together to make a determination, one, if these are even human remains at all, or if it's just a deer that kind of died in place, or, the remains of somebody's lunch from 100 years ago. And from there, if the remains are human, the physical anthropologist and the tribes and the state work together to determine if it's historical or ancient or very recent. So if it's recent, then they call the police, and then it's out of our hands at that point. If these remains are historic or ancient, then the tribes get involved. And then at that point, work in this area will have already stopped. But at that point, the construction crew will get sent home, typically. Then it's my job to create, I believe it's a 100-meter barrier. That's just Oregon statute. Around the remains, I don't allow photographs. I don't interact with it at all, not even to cover it. And then just kind of wait for the tribes to get there. But it's a scary and a sad thing, but I feel like if people kind of know what happens, then they can be a little better prepared, and then there's a little less of that tension, um, between like what could potentially be in the ground, between myself, between the construction crew.
That's very interesting. Yeah. I sort of I give a little bit of forgiveness to people like that because not that saying something like that is acceptable, but
Yeah.
um, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Physiologically,
Mm,
it's that thing of, scientists have proven that all of our brains as people have different developments. This is going to sound very much like a I'm more mentally superior than you kind of talk, but there's physical evidence to show that basically the lizard brain is more dominant in some people than the upper brain. And they equated that to the way certain people vote a certain way, but I'm not getting into that. I thought
well,
I thought it was fascinating.
and if that's the case, it would be totally random and dependent on genetics. It's like the way that gets tied to people is usually racist or classist.
Right.
And so we're not gonna, you're not going down that road. But just to make it very clear to our audience, if it's true that like, different parts of the brain get more energy or more development or whatever, it would be more dependent on that roll of the dice with genetics.
Right, right. Because we all know that some of this stuff is taught, and some of this stuff is also, um, I guess I don't want to, for very lack of a term. I don't want to have to say so many words or so many syllables.
Yeah.
It's some people don't want to speak like we do, or can't
Mm.
speak like we do. The vocabulary, the eloquence. Some people just weren't taught that. So for them, it's easier to do the whole blue collar, up, gonna dig up a dead Indian kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's not appropriate, and I'm not, of course, condoning it at
No.
all. But as somebody who always plays devil's advocate, I kind of say, okay, again, it's not a I'm better than you kind of thing, but I
Yeah.
understand you're a basic person. It's not
Well,
Might
acceptable.
also be black humor sometimes,
it is
people.
black
Yeah,
humor. I wouldn't even go as far as to call it genetic. This is the sort of thing, this phrase across multiple construction crews strikes me as more of a tradition.
yeah,
And so like with my anthropologist brain, I'm seeing culture, I'm seeing subculture. I see types of jobs as a subculture, especially a very old one something that involves the trades.
right,
And so, if this phrase is coming up across multiple crews and really multiple generations of workers, we have a time. I mean, even now, like native burials get blitzed every day by construction. This is not a new phenomenon. And like historically, we have been, building over and digging up and destroying indigenous sites and burials and historic and cultural sites. That was the plot of Poltergeist.
yes,
And
yes,
so
it
it kind
was.
of says something like this phenomenon has made it into a major Hollywood movie. It's so common. Um, and so to me, like finding human remains happens so often and so randomly that it has become a part of this culture. And because a lot of us are socialized to see indigenous communities as less than, then we get phrases like dead Indian, you
Right,
know.
right. And I found out something really interesting about my own lineage. I originally always heard like, 136 Mohawk tribe.
Mhm.
I have, oh, and I might actually dig it out if I can because the folder is right next to me. I actually found out I am 1/16th Mohawk.
Nice.
My great great grandmother or whatever from the early 1900s, there's a picture of her in this folder next to me in her full garments.
Cool.
You would actually probably really like to see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and
Mhm.
I've always kind of taken Native culture pretty seriously. Um, I don't know if it's because I've always been aware of my Native heritage or what, but I've I've just always preferred people, yeah, have respect for. I mean, you
Sure.
should anyway, but
Well,
yeah,
it's basic human decency,
yeah,
is what it is. And it's like, and so for me, I wanted to bring that out because ultimately what I told the construction crew is, well, that would be very sad if we found human remains, but here's what would happen. And then kind of talked about some of the ethics about it. And really, that's all you need to do.
yep,
Because I got up onto my angry grad student pedestal and started talking about, that's a really racist phrase you're using, and it is. Um, but then I kind of understood my position, being what I am. Um, and then, of course, the dynamic of being an academic, I don't want to talk down to people.
right,
Um,
right.
and I think understanding what they were doing as really trying to alleviate their own fears about what could happen um, informed my response. And to your point, Marcus, I had always heard that I had a great great grandmother who was a Cherokee princess my whole life. And then one of the first dates I ever went on was with a native gal, and I told her that, and she said, no, she's not.
I was gonna say, did you get that email too?
Yeah. No, it's like that. That's a thing that a lot of people hear. It's a very common myth. But my family swears by it, and I am kind of choosing which hills to die on these days. Because that was one of my Nana's favorite stories. Okay, Nana. Okay.
Well, this is going to be a nice, long, juicy show. I like it. Um, why don't we? Because God, I have this bad habit of where I want to sit and talk and question, and I know we've got other
Mhm.
things that we got to do. I want this to be our next off episode.
All
Is
right.
us just sitting down and talking more archaeology with you because I know we haven't really done much of that lately. Which is why we have all the nice updates. But um, I just want to let you know I want to continue, but I know we
And
got to move
we
on to
have
other
stuff to
stuff.
talk about. Yeah, we're
Yep.
talking about our what is it, Animal Crossing towns?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, we've
because
got it.
that's about as much as I know. Marcus,
Uh,
I only know dig.
I know, I know.
I will
But
do my best, but I only know dig.
we'll get to that after these messages from our sponsor Finn JD John of Offbeat Oregon.
Oh yeah. I don't have much of an update for you guys. I mean, I've just sort of been plugging along here, trying to get my production process smoothed out. It's just a whole lot of inside baseball stuff that's been keeping me busy. And of course, my task mistress, Natalie, has been getting lots of good work out of me in
Yeah.
Silverton at her house. Um, Natalie's my wife, of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
Make
this is
sure
weird that
everybody
you
got
don't
that reference.
that this is weird that we're on a day that you don't have to like rush off again. This is weird.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because my mom is getting out of the hospital today. She had
Hmm.
I don't want to get into like details that nobody wants to imagine, but
Of course.
she's 86 years old, and
Hmm.
something flared up, and she had to go in and get spend a couple of days in there getting fixed, and she's going to be going home today. So I'm waiting for the call from the hospital, say come get your mom,
Hmm.
and yeah.
Your mom's
Yeah,
ready. Come pick her up.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Just go up to the kiosk.
Yeah, can we get her door dashed?
So
That's a
we,
different
we got
service.
a key
Uh,
drop for
Yeah.
late night drop offs, and
no,
uh,
that was a really cool. I know you saw it in our IO chat, but uh, that was really cool when you said, I basically kind of took it for granted a little bit, but after, talking to me and the stuff with, my mom and, having her be gone for, God, 7 years now. Um, and it was really cool that listening and talking to me kind of gave you some perspective. That meant a lot to me because,
Yeah, it
and
really did. It made me be a little bit more worried when she was in the hospital
let's see,
too, which is probably good.
do I have a picture? Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my mom. For audio listeners, this is very great content.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So cool.
like this is my life. This is the hand I've been dealt. I can't do anything about it. But I always do remind people, like, if you're having a fight with your parents, especially your mom, there's such a special relationship between a mom and a kid that is pretty obvious. We're not going to dive another half hour into that, but
Mhm.
but I always encourage people, like, enjoy, spend time. They're not going to be. I lost mine at 28. And
Mhm.
that sucked. And I was fortunate enough to be able to spend almost every single day with her. There wasn't a day went by I didn't text her, didn't see her, didn't call her, didn't nothing. Um, and then, yeah, one day that's it. So
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Alrighty.
uh,
Mm.
but yeah, I I hate to let everybody down after that great presentation or great not presentation, but great update from David, but I just kind of don't have anything this week.
Oh no, that's
Oh, I do have something. The episode of The Unexplained with William Shatner, which I
oh
was
yes.
Ooh.
for, was I think it's now streamable on the
Heck
History
yeah.
Channel. I haven't watched it yet. I'm a little afraid to, but it's there. And yeah.
Nice. Go check
That's
it out.
awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, this is probably the longest. You guys are supposed to only do this in 10 minutes. Well, these
We
these
don't have a guest today, so everybody's just letting it all hang out.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's fine. I don't know.
We
I
we
felt
are dads and wife beaters and undies. It's all hanging out.
I felt bad last week because we'd had like 20 something minutes of updates, maybe more than that.
Yeah.
And then finally we kicked it on over to Jordan and Katie, and we all just kind of like were just, busy talking about random stuff. A couple of questions in there. One, like I said, I really it was really nice to know, like, you guys do all this traveling, heck, you can afford and stuff. So definitely we'll have them back on. It also doesn't help when you get a lot of excited energy in the room, especially when it's
Yeah.
people you've known or you click with really well. You
Hmm.
want to just I don't want to do my homework. I want to play. So it's easier when we have more serious guests, like, we've had Kimberly Moreland or Carrie Timchuk. It's easier to have those more serious conversations. But when it's friends and like close colleagues, it's hard.
Hmm.
So, alrighty. Well, let's finally get into what we are here to talk about today. And yeah, that is okay. So, David, I know you're kind of a little in the dark here. Uh, but like we all have certain, ideas and fantasies and stuff. Like, especially when it comes to like where we would live. And that's part of this conversation. But I also had the thought of like, because David, we've talked a little bit about it before, and it's still a possibility. Talking with your mom about figuring out financial situations and
Oh,
maybe
the
the
village.
village. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. We're
Um,
trying to suburbia's for the birds. We're trying to bring back a village.
well, it
Um,
definitely needs a neighborhood market. I'm gonna say
yeah,
that right now.
yeah.
But then I thought about that too. I'm like, well, if we did this, we could, have a neighborhood market built. And then I started thinking, what would it look like if we built our own town, like
Yeah.
actual town? And I even looked into like, can you build your own town
Hmm.
in 2025? You
Yeah,
know,
on private property, you can pretty much do what you like.
yeah,
As long as
well,
you're not on government utilities, it doesn't
and
really
and that's
matter.
just, and that's just it. You need to, yeah, they talked about how you need to coordinate with the state. You have to
Hmm.
form infrastructure, which is, water, sewage, electric,
Yeah.
um and all this other stuff. So yeah, I thought it'd be really fun because, you know, Lord knows all of us have probably at one point or another, like so many other random thoughts, have had that thought of, you know, if I could build, or even to not limit it too badly, you know, take over like a smaller town, or an old ghost town, and revitalize it. Like, Ellendale's just west of Dallas. It's still on the map, but it's not a town anymore.
Hmm.
Um,
I
that's
was look
actually
I was looking
what
at one outside of Independence. I think people still live there though, so it's not actually a ghost town.
is it, Buena Vista?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's still
But
technically a
yeah, because people live there, so it's not a ghost town.
no. And you've got the ferry and stuff
Yeah.
there. I think the ferry's still in operation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I we unfortunately kind of had this was a last minute thing, so we didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare about it. But we can go into a little bit of history for something we actually, all three of us, kind of know a little bit about, I think. And that's talking about the idea of how, like, we Oregon, I really feel like Oregon is the face of the new frontier. Like, yes, California is a thing, the gold rush, people, I mean, I guess maybe in Washington historic circles, um, so don't, bite my head off too much if I'm being incorrect about that. But I feel like it's talked more about in Oregon than it is in other states on the West Coast. Um, in fact, if you look at if you're on YouTube and you see the picture I've chosen for this episode, you see the old Nelson uh, house from out at Dufur. Very, very famous house that is seen in a lot of pictures, and unfortunately, um, during what is the substation fire in, oh shoot, I went too far. I can't remember when exactly uh when the substation fire was. I know it was recent, but yeah, just this really interesting historic house just in the middle of nowhere. Um, just unfortunately got lost to the flames. Um, do you guys have any favorite stories of towns that have popped up?
The only one I really know the history of is Salem.
You want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. Um, I mean, I think the important thing to talk about first with Salem is there were people already here. Like a lot of people were already here. So you had the Chimickity Village, which, as far as I know, ran from where Riverfront Park begins way down Front Street, almost to Kaiser, and then way east to like the center of what we would consider downtown. So this was a truly massive village. Um, and then, so this was what would have been called a winter village. The Kalapuya tended to do what's called a seasonal round. So they would kind of stay in one place for the winter, and then during the three other seasons, well, in Oregon we have really two seasons. It's wet and not wet. So during not wet, not cold, they would be in their fields, they would be cultivating their crops, and they would be gathering resources and hunting and fishing and processing and building. And then during the winter they'd kind of come back, and then that would just be like they'd still be doing stuff, but it would be more of those stationary activities. Um so what Salem was that winter village. um they called it Chimickity, which is where we get the word Chemeketa, which is the name of a community college and a couple other things in the Salem area. um when Jason Lee and his Methodists arrived, they initially started a little outside of the city of Kaiser, which is it's our basically our twin city. They're right next to us. Um, and Lee started at a site called Mission Bottom, where he built his kind of schoolhouse and kind of the missionaries' quarters. They had a cemetery. I believe they had a small farm going. But that was kind of it. And then big it's funny because a lot of the native folks told him don't build there, that place floods all the time. And he built there anyways, and lo and behold, the flooding was a problem, and so he moved to what is now Salem, um, and kind of set up there. And from there, the structures that I'm aware of were the schoolhouse, the missionaries' quarters. They set up a grist mill and I believe a lumber mill as well. This area of Salem is like a confluence of a whole bunch of creeks and the Willamette River. So if you're gonna build a mill, this is a good place to do it. Um, and it was kind of from there as more and more people came along the Oregon Trail, either as support for the missionaries or like independent, settler type people, families. Um, it, the city kind of grew out of that. Um, and yeah, it was a mill town for a long, long time. Again, because of that confluence of creeks and the river. This was kind of a shipping hub. And so the town kind of grew around that, kind of supplies and things that people would need to staff and operate those mills.
Yeah, it's really interesting how often, your white settlers would not listen to
Yeah.
the native population because I distinctly remember when I way back 2 years ago, when I wrote about lighthouses, they did the same thing with the Umpqua.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, there was a huge tension between like, the miners and the loggers and the native populace. And when they planned for the Umpqua Lighthouse, because it was originally um on the river, if I remember correctly. And if they had just consulted the natives, they would have said, "Don't build there. The ground
Right.
is unstable, it floods."
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't, and lo and behold, the lighthouse ended up going years later because of storms and the unstable ground and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. So
What was that bit from Monty Python and the Holy Grail? That castle collapsed and sank into the swamp. And so I built on top, and that one collapsed and fell into the swamp. So I built a third, and that one caught fire, collapsed, and fell into the swamp. But this is the one you'll inherit, lad.
Yeah, Aurora is another interesting community that I know I am planning to write about sometime in the future, and I know Finn has written about the example of the perfect utopia. Um, Finn, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
But Aurora, yeah. Well, I mean, it was a it was an intentional community, basically. A group of German immigrants came out on the Oregon Trail from Bethel Colony in Missouri, and they were reading between the lines. It looks to me like they were trying to get away from malaria. The leader of the colony was a fire plug shaped, charismatic man named Wilhelm Kyle, and he was pretty amazing. He seems to have had a sort of like a blending of fundamentalist Christianity and sort of spiritualistic um theosophical elements. But his group came
Blavatsky
out.
strikes again. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
His group came out from Missouri and found this place. Um, and they set themselves up as a communist colony, but they kind of did communism right,
Mm-hmm.
in that anytime one of the members wanted to leave the colony, they could do it, and they would withdraw the resources that they had brought to the colony from their communal resources and give them to them and say, hey, have fun, come back when you get bored.
Mm,
And it worked great as long as Dr. Kyle was still alive. And then he died suddenly, and all the other colonists were like, well, his son died of malaria before they came out on the trail. There isn't really anybody to hand it over to. So rather than, picking someone and taking potluck with the corruptibility issues, they just dissolved it.
Yeah,
mm,
And
because they could have very well. I mean, everybody in the community knew how everything ran, so it's realistically, it's not like they couldn't continue. But in a way, I really like the ideology of, you know what? This was our beloved leader. This was his mission, and we don't want to see that tainted.
mm,
We just
yeah, I mean,
want to
it was
move
it was
on.
beautiful. It worked. Now a key piece of what made it work is gone. We could try, but we're all students of history as well as German peasants, and we know what happens when absolute power corrupts.
mm,
So rather than go down in a blaze of, awfulness, which happened with almost every other intentional community, the Bride of Christ Church in Corvallis, there's an outfit. Actually, there was an outfit up on Puget Sound that seemed to have pulled it off pretty well. But for the most part, those things where people go into the wilderness and form their own society and exclude the outside world, they don't usually end well. And this one did, probably because it didn't exclude the outside world.
mm.
They became famous for hospitality.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember if again, going back to native populace, do you remember offhand how they treated the natives of the area?
I don't think they had much of a an interaction with the natives by the time they came. I think that
1890s would have been after the reservation period.
Okay.
So, I mean, people would have been around, like people never go far.
thing of it
Um,
is they were in really high value land,
yeah.
and bad people had run the natives off of the high
Yes.
value land several years before they came out.
Mhm.
I would like to think that they would have treated them well, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really
Well,
don't know.
and there's actually quite a lot of communities. We've talked about on here, and I've talked about in my writing that I've done, like with African Americans, where there have been communities that not only treat them but protect them. Some people might not know that's why Seattle has its name. The
Mm,
community that went there and set up shop did so with the natives' permission, from what I recall. And not only that, but they were really good friends with the natives. They traded, they were good with Chief Seattle. They named their settlement after him as sort
mm,
of, we come in peace. We just want a home. That's all. Can we integrate with you? And that worked well for a long time until, greater Western migration brought in more people that didn't quite share the same ideologies as the first wave of settlers who, because they were in smaller groups, had no problem trading and integrating and learning the ways of the natives. Of course, that's not to say all of them. We're not here to romanticize that, but we're
right.
here to say that there was quite a bit of good that still happened. Unfortunately, when you get more people, you get mob mentality, all you need is one, bad charismatic leader to tell, his people that, someone's bad, regardless of, their skin color or religion or whatever. We've seen it with Salem witch trials, of course, like
Yeah. And
so
one of the things with like the reservation period is there really became that financial interest, that financial
Yeah.
interest backed with that sort of, I know the term white supremacy gets thrown around a lot, but in the academic sense, where white supremacy is kind of a social structure wherein people are arranged into a hierarchy, and that's just kind of a very ingrained thing within our society. These are cultural mechanisms that are kind of influencing the way that people interact with different kinds of people.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and when you add in the fact that people had social permission from their peer groups to steal wholesale from members of
Precisely.
other peer groups.
Hmm.
And obviously, when you steal something from somebody, you've got more stuff now, and
Hmm.
so yeah, it's. But yeah, I mean, history is full of stuff that's more fun to talk about than that,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, but this is
I
just
hate to get on a
context.
downer here.
Yeah. It's context, so
Well,
we
and
don't
that's
have to linger on it, but I think
yeah,
Yeah.
and
it's
that's
important.
why I wanted to bring up the Seattle thing because when I had studied that one or heard about it, I think I heard it through lore. Um, but it was just kind of cool. It was a really cool example of not only was this a um not only was this a just a settlement, this was inevitable, unbeknownst to them, was going to be one of the largest. I mean,
Mhm.
it's Seattle.
Yeah.
So the fact that, its name, I mean, we have a lot of, towns and cities that are, named after natives, but again, that whole story about Chase Seattle, I thought was really cool. How the settlement wanted to be good with them, and I'm gonna say it. It honestly really pissed me off when you get this influx of people and came and just ruined all of that.
Hmm.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, sometime when we've got more time to talk through the philosophy of the frontier, it would be fun to bring up Sacagawea's son,
Hmm.
um, the oh gosh, I'm blanking his name, Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, there's a
because
little bit.
he went through that whole process of being a representative of a sovereign people that was going to like be and then all these people from the south of because Missouri was where the Oregon Trail started. They all poured in, and they were just like they didn't recognize any of that stuff, and just anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but that
Good
was a
topic for a future conversation. These warring visions of what the
Hmm.
United States should look like.
Right.
That with Jeffersonian visions on one side
And
and
Jacksonian, yeah.
Jacksonian on the other. Yeah.
but yeah, that was a good foundation for, talking about some frontier history.
Hmm.
So now let's move on to how I don't know if there's a good transition for this. Uh, you know,
So let's talk about how we would build our Oregon Animal Crossing
I
towns.
was gonna say let's talk about how we would go to Falls City, move everybody out.
Yeah.
I will
Our
say
Tom Nook is just a literal 3-foot raccoon because they get that big out here.
I will say that is always something I've talked about with people. If I had millions of dollars, I think I would very well move everybody out of Fall City and take it over as a resort town. Because I always loved the landscape, but the people, and I can say from experience because I have family that lives out there, leaves much to be desired. We actually looked at a really, actually kind of a decent place out there. Um, just up from my father-in-law's place, who also lives out there. And we thought the house would be pretty decent until we started driving through the neighborhood. And I'm like, oh, good God, this place could probably do with a wildfire. It's just, there's just a lot of garbage and stuff like that. So, um, but I've always, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I've always had this interesting, uh, like idea in my head of like if I had a town of where I would build in. It's usually based off of places I've been to, these little nooks and crannies everywhere in mountainous valleys and stuff through, like going to the coast or going out to Central Oregon or something, or even locally, because you got to think uh, realistically, if I really had the ability to do this, I still am, constricted by, friends live here. I don't want to live away from them. Family lives here. I don't want to live away from them. I've got home and history here. So for me, I guess around here, there's a few places that I would, set up a little, community at. Finn, I think you would really like and probably be on board and may have thought about yourself. Heck, it could even be on your list if you have one. Soap Creek. I would
It's nice.
is a
Beautiful
nice.
little hidden valley.
Yeah, every time I drive out there, I think because there's that neighborhood, the houses that's just before um you hit 99. I can't remember I can't remember what road that is, but it goes like behind the dump.
Airlie,
Might be Airlie.
maybe Airlie. There used to be a town called Tampico out there, but I think it got um, subsumed by Camp Adair during World War II.
Yeah, because there's that four-way intersection, and if you're coming from Dallas, if you go right, that goes out to Soap Creek. If you go left, that goes towards the dump. And if you go straight, it eventually takes you to 99, just as going left by the dump does. But there's a really cool neighborhood in there I like neighborhoods that seem tucked in and have all these trees and stuff. But yes, Soap Creek, because you and I have been out there together a couple times at the schoolhouse doing the band stuff. That was in the
Yeah.
early years that we knew each other. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, it is just the fact that you are kind of in this small hidden valley. And I find Ellendale to be the same thing too. We were looking at a house towards the edge of Dallas out there that unfortunately kind of got snatched away. And I thought that's another
Snatch it
place.
back.
Bust
There's
in the door.
4 adults in your house. I think you can take them.
I'd like to see Wilhoit Springs get built up a little bit. It's just there used to be a big giant hotel there. It was a hydrotherapy resort in the 1910s and 1920s. Place caught fire. The giant windstorm from 1962 or whenever that was, the Columbus Day storm, took out the last remaining little cabins from the build up out there, and it's just basically a hole in the ground and a pitcher pump that you can use to get the water out of Wilhoit Springs. It's a mineral spring.
Oh yeah, okay, I
Um,
see.
Gus Frederick brews beer with water from Wilhoit Springs.
What?
Yeah, I've actually back when I was trying to um, brew something palatable myself. I did a Wilhoit Springs brew. Um, it was nearly undrinkable, but most of
Mm.
the stuff I did was. So, but yeah, Wilhoit Springs is just a wonderful place at the end of Wilhoit Road, tucked into the Cascades, um,
Okay, yeah, it's over. Was that just
outside of
south of
Molalla.
Malala? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, okay, that's kind of cool. See,
That
there's.
might be my choice if I was going to revive a town, and you know, that might be it. It's a little far away from Sunstone Country, but then, my current house is too.
And what's the exact address of your house?
Into the microphone so the people can hear.
Let me bring it up on Google
Yeah.
Maps here.
Ugh.
Yeah. I don't really know any towns like that. I mean, if I were gonna try to build up an intentional community, I'd want to keep it kind of in the Willamette Valley.
Yeah.
I like this climate that we have. I like all the tree cover. I like being near water. Um, so it would have to be something like that. Maybe a little further north. Um, trying to think.
There's some
Where
pretty nice stuff
Yeah.
south too,
Yeah.
like in the Rogue Valley area, very remote,
Yeah.
far away from everything.
Well, and even places like Jackson in Southern Oregon are lovely. Because Southern Oregon is a desert, but Jackson is its own little microclimate that looks so much like the Willamette Valley. Um, trying to think too. Like places towards the coast are nice. I don't know that many town names. Because when I'm driving, my
Such
eyes are on the road and I'm
gonna
not
say so,
driving with another person.
such a shock coming from the sheltered boy.
I know. Well, it's like the only town names I know are like Willamina or Otis, like the kind of these major like crossroads and like
Right.
stops along the roads of the coast. I also think about like the historic highway, not I-5, but the one that kind of runs alongside it. Some of the
Yes.
towns along that are really lovely. I love Oregon City. Um, and places like that that are still along the river and still have that very shady, very cool climate. You're close to water access. I don't know that if I'd want to live as far north as Astoria or being right on the mouth of the river like that. Um, but something like Astoria.
I
That's
think
that's
I
yeah.
think after the whole tsunami thing that happened just recently, I've
Well,
pretty
yeah, but I mean, like, if this is pure fantasy, like, if we're not living in a world ravaged by climate change, where are we gonna go? Canada? No. As far north as you can. No. Like if pure fantasy, keep it in the Willamette Valley. Something like Astoria or Oregon City.
I do like the fact that like where well, because Salem not so much. Salem's kind of more smack dab in the middle, but I like where we live since we're
Yeah.
pretty much on the edge of the Coast Range, which is really great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kings Valley is kind of a neat area.
Oh, like Kings Valley. I
Yeah,
forgot about Kings Valley.
yeah, Kings Valley is a really cool place to poke around, especially if you know where to look. We
Mm-hmm.
used to spend quite a few. We went to Hoskins Lake quite a few times fishing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those areas where you don't know a lot about it unless you consult with like the local old timers. And
Yeah.
because I grew up with the local old timers, I got to hear things like, well, there's a legend about a locomotive, an engine that's still out there in the Coast Range somewhere,
Oh
like
wow.
past Black Rock. Probably not, because
Yeah.
even like when it came to like train cars were easily ditchable, but the
Mm-hmm.
engines themselves, they would have tried very hard to get them back, or they would
Mm-hmm.
just come back and scrap them and then pull the rails and go. But I mean, I've talked about people just walking into the woods of Oregon and never returning, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the same thing with stuff out there. You just don't know what's still out there from like the old logging days.
Yeah. There's a hiking trail called Steam Donkey Trail. And if you don't know what a steam donkey is, it's a very old, like gas powered winch. And this trail used to be a logging area, and they left. I think the steam donkey had fallen into a ravine, is why they left it. Um, and the last time I went to this trail was in like 2014, 2015. So it was in really bad shape. I don't know if it's still there, but you could still kind of see it. But yeah, I mean, at that time when it was so hard to make something new, um, you try to salvage as many parts as you could.
Yeah.
I also think it's funny that we're talking about this coincidentally around the time that I don't remember what state it is back east, if it's Missouri or something, but there's this group of people who are going to make their own, basically white only community out in
Oh,
the
gee.
middle of nowhere.
What again?
Yeah,
We're gonna try this again.
yeah,
Give it
because
10 years for the allegations to start coming out. What a horror story this was.
I was gonna say it never fails. It all half the time these things usually end in a standoff between the community and police.
Yeah, well, it's the thing like we were talking about, like these really isolated, out keep the outsiders out communities. And then you've also got this thing of like these whites only communities, not always, but often are religiously motivated. And so you've got this this feedback loop and yes anding of I am more pure than you, which and that kind of circular one-upsmanship tends to eat itself.
Well,
That's not sustainable.
so the community that we're building with your mom, do you know what's going to make it better? We're going to have a
Oh,
Dollar General.
yes, that's all we need. A Dollar General, everyone is an equal.
Gentlemen, I think we're starting to run up against our
Our
time
time
limits
limit
here.
I
here.
noticed
Yeah.
that. I noticed that.
Yeah.
Real quick, there's a couple of things left. Real quick. So yeah, say David, say we're gonna be able to make this village work. Um,
We're gonna try.
we're
That's
gonna
the only
try.
thing I can promise is that
We're
we're gonna try.
the home office is gonna be there. Uh,
Yeah.
so like if on fantasy we had the money to like say we have the community bill, what's what would you want any like stores? Would you want a fast
Got to, Melanie and Lee have to have places to sell their art, and
Well,
Lee
we need
or
a Panda
Mara as
Express.
well. We need a Panda Express. I don't know who's gonna work there, not me.
Um,
Did you guys ever see like the there what oh man, I'm blanking the name of the place, but there's a little town between Eugene and Florence. And oh gosh, I can't remember. There was an intentional community there of like hippie back to the land hippies.
Yeah.
The
is it no
Alpha
tie?
commune, I think. No, it's not No Tie. It's Walterville, maybe? No, that's the other way. Anyway, there was the Alphabet Cafe. They had incredibly great strawberry rhubarb pies,
Hmm.
a little store,
Yeah.
Oh,
like a hippie
well,
No
co-op type of
oh
chains.
no,
place.
that's two
No
sounds.
chains, no corporations.
I know.
Yeah,
I
it was
think you're
all
right. I think it's
very
Walton.
Walton, that's the one, yeah.
Mm.
So it was like it was just a very like back to the land kind of we get together and play fiddle music and dance with each other on Saturday nights kind of vibe to the place. Just
Hmm.
felt like a community
Yeah.
and kind of one of those, that partaking of the best elements of the sort of like hippie vibe
Hmm.
from a number of years ago, without the craziness.
The problems, yeah.
The
Yeah.
problems.
But I mean, I could say, I mean, that would do it to
Yeah.
get all the commerce that you need to do, like a sort of a general store
It's
type of
that yeah.
scenario.
That's kind of my mom's vision, is like maybe a community kitchen kind of thing.
What would we name our town?
Oh, Davidsville, of course.
Davidsville.
Davidsburg, I'm open
I'm a
to.
little more altruistic than that. I was gonna do
I'm not.
something in reference to my mom, Linville for her middle name or
That
whatever.
would be cool.
I don't know if Tony Dale.
Yeah, yeah.
My...
Dunwich,
Wait, what?
Dunwich,
Dunwich.
There
yes,
you go. Or maybe
or
like a
maybe
hybrid
Kingsport.
between your mom's name and my dad's name. So like Lynn Bill or Bill Lynn.
Arkham is too overused now, but there's got to be some other good stuff out of that Lovecraft country that we could
Yeah.
pull for this. Um,
I love it. It's coming summer 2030. It'll be here.
Yeah.
All right, our last thing before we get out of here, because I'm curious. I mean, I don't know about Shelter Boy over here. If you have any
I don't leave my house.
Well, and that's just it. If you could live anywhere in the state today, where would that be?
Me? Oh, I'd stay in Salem.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know Salem the best. It's a weird backward government town, but it's my weird backward government town.
Ben, what about you?
I am kind of torn between where I am now and maybe just west of Silverton or Wilhoit, but they're pretty similar. So yeah, I'm blooming where I'm planted.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I'm kind of in the same, like, everyone's here. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to go, I don't want to go anywhere like too
Central
crazy.
LA. Yeah.
But like if I didn't have to like worry about like say people came with me, whatever. If I didn't have to worry about any of that, Bend. Bend is my absolute favorite city in the entire state.
Mm.
I love the oddity of the feeling of being in Central Oregon. I'm so excited to go back here in 2 to 3 weeks. I guess it would be more like 3 weeks, but yeah. So yeah, I'm just so super excited. It's a beautiful city. It's well laid out. It's got a ton of stuff to do around that I love. Yeah, it would have to be Ben for me. Again, really the only
Ron?
thing that's preventing me from wanting to do it realistically is not even the fact that, yes, I know it's an expensive place to live, but in all reality, it is the fact that it's like, well, then I'm 3 hours away from everybody.
Yeah.
So, and I'm, I guess at that point, I would be smack dab next to probably the most dangerous volcano in the state.
Yeah.
Oh, there is that.
Yeah, if Newberry Crater goes, that's it for Central Oregon.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't have to worry about it for very long.
No, no, I wouldn't. There would be signs. I mean,
Yeah.
the usual signs, trees dying off, things like that. Scientists would be
Yeah.
like, "Well, time to pack up and go." All right,
Yep.
cool, cool. All righty, guys. Thank you. Well, I should have been more prepared, but here we go. Thank you so much for joining us. This episode was brought to you by the Oregon Voices Network, a historical podcast network that brings you amazing shows like Welcome to Oregon, a Oregon history and lore podcast, Offbeat Oregon, and the Penny Dreadful Variety Hour. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect, perfect. Our website is now updated to reflect all of these wonderful shows. If you want one source for all of our content, social links like our Facebook group, page, and Discord, occasional articles, a store supplied by local artists, and more, check out www.oregonvoices.net. Also, if you love our work, you should seriously consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/Oregon Voices Network. Seriously, guys, $1, even if it's just $1. Could you imagine if just 5,000 people donated $1 a month? I'd be able to do this full time and write full time and bring you guys more and more content to enjoy. So yeah, $1, that's all it takes. The money goes towards all of our projects and helps us pay for things like software, assets, and more. If you're listening to the audio version of the show, you can find more of our work on YouTube at youtube.com/Oregon Voices Network. Gentlemen, where can people find you and your works?
I am on most social media sites at the Spirit of PDX.
And I'm at Finn at pulp-lit.com, or on Facebook. I'm trying to stay plugged in there.
Yes. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. From myself and the crew. Later.
Bye.
Cheers.